Hello and welcome to the Gnomecast. My name's Tarmack and this is going to be sort of an introduction into Adobe Audition, just getting you to the point where you can record and put down some audio tracks. Now, I have to assume, first of all, that you've got the program installed and you're looking at the same screen that I'm looking at right now. First of all, again, you got a lot of empty stuff going on here. There's not a whole lot open for you, and that's because just like any other program, the first thing you have to do is create a new file. Now, I'm going to use a multi-track session, and I'll explain why in just a minute. First off, of course, you've got to set your file name, so we'll call this tutorial. And you need to pick your sample rate in bit depth. Sample rate is the amount of times in any one little segment of time that it's going to sample the audio that you're using. And the bit depth is the amount of data it's using per sample, so the amount of information that it can carry. The higher the sample rate and the higher the bit depth, the more quality you're dealing with. For anything YouTube related, 44,100 Hertz and 16-bit depth is fine. The other one you can use that's a decent-ish combination is 48,000 Hertz and 32-bit. It doesn't really matter. Don't bother going above this. Anything higher than this is beyond where you need to be worrying about it. So the last thing is whether you're picking stereo or mono. Doesn't really matter. Stereo is two channels. You got a left and a right. Mono, there is no left and right. It's just one single track. I'm going to leave it as stereo for now. So now we have all of the information that goes along with any sort of a multi-track file. And you'll look, this seems kind of similar if you've done any sort of video editing, where it looks a lot like the timeline. You have multiple tracks. You've got your time that has passed as you go along. And I like the multi-track better specifically because it's like this. You can edit an awful lot easier with the multi-track than with just the single track. Single track, it doesn't give you any of these sorts of options. It's just create a brand new audio file. And if you're doing a lot of editing, it doesn't really work out all that well. So first of all, now you have to go into your hardware settings and you want to make sure that you've got all of the lines in a row, shall we say. Now, most of you are going to be looking in here and you're going to see MME here. You want to have your input device being, of course, your microphone, wherever your microphone happens to be hooked up. If you're using a webcam, it'll be listed. If you're using a USB mic, it'll be listed. All of that sort of stuff. You pick your microphone here. Default output. Adobe probably has picked up on which ones you're using, but you just got to come in here and make sure. And then as well, you want to make sure that you're using the sample rate in here that you picked for your starting file. You hit OK, and we're back to our multi-track. Now, with the multi-track, a couple of details about how all of this stuff works. When you're creating any sort of a track in a large audio suite like Adobe Audition is, the track itself can have multiple inputs. So you need to very specifically choose an input to use for a particular track. So you click on here where it says default stereo input. Click on, in this case, because we've got a stereo plan, we could use it stereo or we could use it mono for all it matters. And now we have the microphone loaded to track 1 very specifically. And all we have to do now is tell Adobe that track 1 needs to be armed for recording. You click on the R and now you can see you've got the green bars bumping. This is the microphone it's picking up some audio here for us. And then down here to your main record button, just like anything else. You hit record and you're going to start to see it go along and pick up some audio from what your microphone is putting out. Once you're done, you finished your recording, you hit your stop, and now you've got your file that you can move around as you see fit. And this is, as I say, this is where the editing comes into play. It makes it an awful lot easier to do. For example, you've got a little razor blade up here. Say you want to cut it in half, and you want to move this piece over here to the front. It's nice and easy. It's just like editing video. Nice and easy stuff. Once you're done all of that, you've got your file ready to go. You hit up to File, Save, just like any other program you've ever used. Nice and simple. Now, one detail that I did run into recently was a problem that somebody ran into, one of the people that I know. He had an issue where it came up and it said your sample rate for your input and output devices do not match. Go into your control panel, Sound, Playback Device, Speakers, double click on it and hit Advanced. You want this to match very closely the sample rate. The bit depth doesn't matter quite to the same degree, but the sample rate needs to match what your microphone sample rate is. So the 48,000 Hertz, as long as you've got the same everywhere, then you shouldn't have any problems. That'll close it up for the Adobe Audition introduction. And once I've got it uploaded, there'll be an annotation up in the top right for the editing portion showing how to refine some audio and make it sound good. A couple of details about Adobe Audition. Adobe.com is where you can find it. I've got a link down below to go to that page if you're interested in this program. It's, you know, it's not cheap. $350 if you want to buy it outright, but they do have sort of a rent program where you pay $20 a month and you can use the full program. It's just sort of a subscription base. Other than that, we're good to go. I'm going to close it up and I'll see you for the next one. Thanks very much. Bye, guys.